So in this picture, one of us is not like the other. Let's put it that way.
Really?
Okay? And I will elaborate just a little bit on that real quick, is that one of us does not look our age. I think I am a pretty decent representative of my age group. But Colin, you have astounded me for such a long time. As to how you have secretly discovered the fountain of youth, but not... I feel like you've not shared it, but you have. You shared what it is, we just don't believe it because it's actually a lot of hard work.
It is.
It's a lot of hard work. Okay, but mostly... we watched the video earlier. We watched the video of Young Dishin, who's the 80-year-old guy who does the runway stuff, and he goes to the gym and he works out 3 hours a day.
He's awesome.
And he's fantastic. And the most prominent thing about him was his mindset.
Yes.
You know, it's like he started doing things at 50, then at 60, and at 70. And you know, in my experience, the people that I've spoken to and met, and my parents even, when they get to about 40 or 45, they're like, oh, well, no, my life's over. I'm just waiting to die now. And meet people like you who are totally different. Now, we've been friends for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And
I can attest to the fact that you walk the talk. You definitely walk the talk. That's in so many different ways. So I would love to have a chat for us just about the mindset of folks who really encapsulate or embody the phrase when people say age is only a number.
Well, it is and it isn't, isn't it? In reality, when it comes to... Well, let's roll back a bit, Angelo. I did this because I'm second marriage now, and I'm significantly older than my wife. And of course, she wanted children, and rightly so. And, you know, we discussed it over wine, as you do. And she said, you know...
all the best decisions over wine, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. Would you like to have? I said, well, I would have said, but, you know, let's be realistic. I'm no spring chicken anymore. And I thought about it for 6 months. Because I already have two older boys. How old are they? One's 33 and one's 29 in the UK. And I said, okay, I'll do this under one condition. Not to her, but to me. The condition was, I said, I will do this if I can be a parent who can run with the kids, play with the kids, have the energy to bring them up in the way which I think is appropriate. And that's what kicked me off. So I set myself a target of having a biological age at least 15 to 20 years less than my chronological age. And it took me probably about 3 years in total to get there. I ran my first marathon when I was 56, and I've climbed Everest Base Camp. I've been to Annapurna Base Camp. I've summited Kilimanjaro quite recently. And I did that because I wanted to live a proper life, initially with my kids, but also, importantly, it becomes a way of life. So although I said it is hard work, it is to begin with, but once it becomes a way of life, it's not. It's your way of life. And if you mentioned mindset, a mindset is fundamentally important because nowadays, you're right, some people think, oh, I'm 45, I'm waiting for the pension, oh dear, my life's at an end. I'm being realistic. There are certain parts of Southeast Asia which are very ageist. Once you're 45 or 50, you're past it. You're past it, you see. You know, and you know, I have conversations with people and I say, well, you know, I can run marathons. Can you do that? To 20-year-olds? And if you set your mindset appropriately, it's amazing what you can do because your body is incredibly strong and it's incredibly flexible. You can mold it. And to me, there's like 3 pillars of my philosophy. There's 3 pillars. One is what you put into your body and what you expose it to. I'll explain what that means. The other one is about your mindset, okay, about how you always want to learn about new things, how you push yourself. And the third one is, you know, it's a hackneyed term, but mindfulness, about, you know, and it's like, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, yeah. How do you get to the self-actualization? And over the years, because I also do coaching as well, executive coaching. I realized that part of the issue is that you feel guilty spending time developing yourself, whether it be physically or mentally. Okay? You have no problem at all spending thousands of dollars on watches, and all these sorts of things, fancy cars. But how much time do you spend developing yourself? The answer is normally not very much, okay? And you tend to feel guilty because another aspect of it is when it comes to doing things for myself, I regard that as part of equally as important as what I do for business, equally as important what I do with my relationships, and equally as important what I do with my children. Okay, so I know it's a bit of a decision. I will put exercise time in my diary. I will put reading time in my diary. I will put meditation time in my diary. Okay, and that then you buy the time. And it's interesting. With my girlfriend, we had dinner with some good friends, and her lady friend was giving her husband a hard time because he's a bit chunky, and he said, "Well, how do you find the time to do all of this?" And I said, "Well, you make the time." I said, I don't know about your personal habits, but you find time to browse on Netflix, you find time to go on YouTube, you find time to browse through Lazada, whatever. Find the time. And yes, the 80-year-old or the 70-year-old catwalk model is obviously an inspiration in many ways, and he's phenomenal. But I reckon if you spend probably an hour and a half a day, that's what you need. And to me, that's a great investment because you have more energy, both physically and mentally. You have so much more energy. I've been told I have more energy than most people who are 20 years younger than me. And when I had some surgery recently, a minor thing, surgery, but obviously they give you a full physical and everything. And the specialist said, I'd achieved my goal. My biological age was at least 15 to 20 years less than my chrono age. Okay. And
so what really, really boggles me about this whole thing, I've seen it happen. I've seen how you are. I see how committed you are. But you're absolutely right. Mindset is the be all and end all. It's the foundation on which you can build anything else. Mm-hmm. And that mindset of I'm too busy, I don't have time, etc., as well as our propensity to make excuses.
Yes.
is very, very strong in many cases. And I'm as guilty as anybody else. As you can see, I'm not the fittest guy in the world. I used to be, and not now, because I don't have time, I'm too busy, and when I'm finished being busy, I'm too tired. I'm too tired.
And what I say to people, especially when I do the coaching, is that it's an excuse.
Yes, it's an excuse, nothing more. And I love what you said. It's 1.5 hours, and we broke it down at some point. So, okay, you have 24 hours. How much do you need for sleep? Take that away. How much do you need for this? Take that away. And we always think we have, there's too few hours in the day.
Yep.
And yet, when you analyze it and put it down, and I know it's boring and it's not the coolest thing to do to really examine your life in such a very quote unquote anal kind of way, but that really gives you a clear picture of how much time you actually do have.
It does, and I think people don't realise it. If you think of, as you say, if you take away time for sleeping, time for eating, time for going to the toilet, washing yourself, whatever, you have, I don't know, is it 10 hours a day left or 8 hours a day left? That's your life. That's your life. And also I find people tend to fill it with things which aren't important. They just fill those things which aren't important.
We said Netflix, YouTube, Instagram.
I don't get we're all guilty. I'm as guilty as anybody.
Yeah.
But
it's a choice.
Yeah, but it is a choice, and I control it. So now, and I can tell you what I do, but it's like I have without sounding too fancy, a new age. It's like I have a holistic view of life, and I live my life in a holistic way, in the sense that I look after my body, I look after my intellect, and I look after my mindfulness. Okay, all three I look after consciously, and I do it in a way which I think has the right balance for me. It might not work for everybody else, works for me, and all I can say is I think the result speaks for themselves. I'm I'm not being sort of bragging, but I know I don't look 65. I don't.
No, you certainly do not look 65. And when you said you're much fitter and more energy than somebody 20 years younger than you, I'm 20 years younger than you, and you have 10 times more energy, not just double.
I do. So let if you want to break down the 3 pillars, I can do that for you. What I do.
Well, we'll go into that into a second.
Sure.
Okay. The how to will I think will come at the end. We'll just bring about a bit of a. Essentially, I just invited you to have a bit of a chat about this because obviously it's a subject that interests me, but more so, okay, in coaching, we know what happens in coaching. It's not just, we'll tell you what the problem is, we'll tell you why we think the problem is there, but why we think the problem is there is usually not the reason why the problem is there. Yeah. There's something deeper. Okay, so why aren't we eating correctly? Why aren't we dedicating 1.5 hours, which is not a lot at the end of the day. I mean, in perspective, it's not a lot. What is stopping us from moving forward? Or rather, what is the source or root of all these excuses that come out? And I think that's a lot more important rather than, well, we will definitely discuss the 3 pillars,
sure.
but examining that, because it will be different for everybody, but I think it will still have a very similar root.
I think it's personally, I think the average person doesn't understand the implications of not having what I'd call a healthier lifestyle in its broadest sense. They go along, they expect to slow down once they're 45 and 50. They expect to get type 2 diabetes. They expect to get arthritis. They expect to go all wrinkly, They expect these things. Well, actually, that's a stereotype. If you choose to go that way, that's up to you. If you realize that you do a few things and you treat looking after yourself and investing in yourself as important as going to some 2-hour Zoom meeting where basically you're falling asleep, well, that's fine.
It's all a choice at the end of the day.
It's all the choice. And I think if people realized, especially on the physical side, if people realized you can definitely slow the aging process, of that there's absolutely no doubt. And compared to the average population, you can both appear and be younger than the average person of your chronological age. There's absolutely no question, in my view.
It's not just your view, in your experience, because I think you've experienced both tracks at some point, choosing to be one way and then choosing to be the other.
And I realised that it was important for me as a parent. Obviously, that's what kicked it off. This sort of self-realisation moment. But also then I realised, well, hey, I quite enjoy this. So I quite enjoy going for a walk. I quite enjoy going for a cycle or a swim. Doing a bit of gym work in the house, whatever. I quite enjoy, because it gives you do get obviously a buzz of the endorphins and whatever, but it just gives you so much energy. And my philosophy is that the brain lives within the body. So if your body's not healthy, your mind's not going to be healthy. Your brain sits in this receptacle.
It's a very ancient philosophy, Socratic, I think, philosophy.
It is.
Healthy mind, healthy body.
I think so.
But not, okay, so bottom line is we all know, okay, that the head knowledge is there. We know we should be healthy. We know we should eat right. We know we should exercise. We know we know, but we don't do it.
Well,
okay.
I do.
You do it. Okay. So the people that do it, you reap the rewards. You get the results, and you have the benefits of all that kind of stuff. Other folks, myself included in many ways, will see that and be like, "Wow, good for you," or like the video of young Shun, the 80-year-old fella, be like, "That's amazing, that's so inspiring." But if it was so inspiring, why aren't I following suit? Okay, so obviously there's the two driving forces, as Tony Robbins says, is inspiration and desperation. And if you're not going to get inspired, pray that you won't get desperate enough to have to do it because of the doctor telling you have 3 months to live.
Yes.
If you don't stop, eating garbage. So, other than inspiration or desperation, okay, you mentioned it earlier. You said people don't realize the benefits of it. Okay?
They've got to make it important to themselves. Like, there's a great phrase in one of my favorite movies, in The Shawshank Redemption.
Best movie ever.
Yeah, where it says, do you want to get on living or get on dying? And most people get on dying. They get on dying. They're waiting to die. Especially when you and I, these tender years. They're waiting to die. And why do you do that? Why don't you live? And with today's healthcare, with the wide availability of nutrition and everything else, you can live. What's the best way to describe it? A life full of vitality. You may not live longer years, okay, but like that guy, you showed on the video, he's at 70 or 80, whatever he is, he's living his life, and how wonderful is that? How wonderful, because he made some choices. He's invested in himself, not because he's a selfish person, but that will have a knock-on effect with everybody around him, obviously, plus himself. And why not? It's like using the potential that you have both in your physical body, in your intellect as well, your impact on your parents and friends and wider society. Why don't you do that? So you are making a choice to stuff yourself with full fat Coke and Krispy Kreme donuts. That's fine. That's your choice. But it's actually simpler than you think. We're conditioned to eat 3 meals a day. We're conditioned because sugars are highly addictive. There's been lots of misinformation around healthy fats. There's a million and one things, but it's actually not that difficult. The key is you've got to make it important to yourself. Don't do this for other people. Do it for you.
Yeah, and we're definitely moving into a different field of psychology when we do that. Because I've had so many conversations with people already, where when I was doing the summit on meditation, miracles, and manifestation, and people were so focused on be in touch with yourself, be in touch with your higher self. Discover who you are, find out who you are, and also do things for yourself. The underlying issue that is there is that this feeling like, am I worth it? Do it for myself, but if I'm not worth it, why would I bother? If I'm not worth it, I don't mean for us to go into this right now, because that's another huge subject. But I'm just bringing it up for the folks that might be thinking that it's like, I want to do it for myself, but am I worth investing that time?
But what I would say is, if you don't think you're worth it, who else is?
Well, if you don't think you're worth it, you generally think everybody else is more worth it than you. But
It's your choice.
What I spoke to you about a while ago, a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I've lost track of time, to be honest, was this is one of the very few, if not the only thing you can actually control in your life. And that made a huge difference. That was about a week ago we spoke. Mm-hmm. And that for me was a huge switch in my head. It's like, yes, we're trying to control so many things in our lives, whether we're worth it or not worth it, whatever it is. And this is something you literally have full control over.
Yes.
In taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And you're the proof of the pudding. You can see the results sitting right in front of me. What I experienced, please let me know if this is the case with you, but when I went through my huge weight loss journey a couple of years ago, and people were so impressed. They were like, oh, that's so inspirational. You lost all this weight. Good for you. What did you do? And I said, well, I did the keto diet. And they literally looked me in the face and said, oh, that doesn't work. I said, that doesn't work. And I was like, I told you I'm doing the keto diet. You just saw the weight I lost, and you tell me it's not working? Yeah. I read some reports about that, and it doesn't work.
Excuse. The thing is, at the end of the day, if you want to focus on the diet side of things, is the bottom line is that net at each day you have to have less calories than what your body needs. And that's done through either restricted calories or exercise, as simple as that. All these different diets are just a vehicle. They're just a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I've done like anybody. I've gone through the whole cycle of diets, and I've found something that works for me. I also do intermittent fasting as well, because that works for me. Not for everybody, but the problem with the internet, there's so much information out there. You can always find a body of information which will reject your hypothesis that it works for you. At the end of the day, the results are in front of you. And I say, great, well, just find something that works for you then, and do it. And then what I also find is, because we live in this instant gratification society, they think, well, okay, I've done a diet for 3 days. How come I haven't lost 15 kilos? Oh, just get a life, just get a life. Or they'll say, I went on this diet and lost 5 kilos in 2 days. I said, well, that's in what planet do you live on then? It doesn't work. It's just bloody water loss. So the thing is, people have to be realistic with their goals. But you can control your body. There's no question you control your body. You don't have to eat all those calories if you choose to. You don't have to eat all that sugar if you don't choose to. You don't have to eat all the empty calories. You can. But don't get me wrong. I like food as much as anybody.
And you're really good at making it as well.
Yeah, I do the chefy thing, but I do. But what I do is, I wouldn't say one phrase like everything in moderation. How boring is that? but at the end of the day, if I know I want to maintain a certain weight with my lifestyle, I either have to eat in a certain way or do exercise. But for me now, it's interesting. People say, "Oh, what's your diet?" I say, "Well, it's not a diet, it's now a way of life. It's just the way I choose to eat. I choose to eat in a particular way. I really enjoy my food. I don't restrict myself in the type of things that I eat. I probably do restrict the quantity, that is true. But through exercise and through intermittent fasting, it all works out. And I have to say, you've also got to be very careful, and I'm sure all the doctors will hate me for saying this, but you've got all these famous BMI charts, etc., etc. And the last 3 times I've been for my annual checkup, I've been told I'm borderline obese. I just laugh at them. I say, well, I'm going to ignore you. Oh, that's what the charts say. I don't care what the charts say. You're telling me to lose 15 kilos. Just be serious about this. Look at the whole thing. and inevitably, it's some rather chubby chap or lady who's telling me this, which doesn't do me any favors anyway. So I ignore it completely. So you've got to be careful with all these charts and all these norms. It's what works for you, what's good for you. But generally, because of the availability of all this food, it's so easy to put weight on. It's so easy not to do any exercise. It's so easy not like what's the last time you read a book? People just getting the sound bites of information on the internet or Google or whatever. You got to find time for these things. So the mind is also important as well. Your intellect. Like there's a classic phrase: "Use it or lose it."
Yeah.
And there's been a large body of research. I'm no expert. Okay, but for example, Alzheimer's. We all know the anecdotes of somebody worked their tail off. They were very committed, very passionate in a job. They retired and then died after 18 months to 2 years because they retired. Use it or lose it. So personally, I continuously thirst for knowledge. I read voraciously. I read across a whole series of subjects. I do that a lot. And that helps as well, because you don't become dogmatic. Because I think many older people they don't mix with younger people. Well, I'm quite reverse. I mix with a whole slew of people.
Yes.
And it makes a difference. It doesn't make you a boring old fart, basically. You can communicate, and part of that's driven by my desire to be a good parent to my girls.
Yeah.
So I communicate to them, and communication isn't just telling them something. Communication is the mutual two-way development of ideas. That's communication. So that you need to do with younger people as well, and people in different areas. And then the last pillar is around mindfulness, as I said, really, is realize, like, we think we've got challenges. Oh my God, life is so hard. Yeah? One photograph sticks in my mind for about a month ago, which brings it all into perspective. It was a photograph of a Palestinian family. I'm not political, I'm not religious, okay? But there was a photograph of a Palestinian family. It was all dark, and there was a candle there, and they're having a birthday party. I think it was for a little girl amongst the rubble. Now I think, and here's me worrying if they've got any salmon in fair price. God, I've got so many first world problems there. Oh my God, the Grab delivery driver is 2 minutes late. Oh my God, I'm going to get compensation for that. Oh, for goodness sake. So it's that my mindfulness is realizing that I'm actually very fortunate to be living here in Singapore. I'm very fortunate with the friends and the family that I have. I have my health, pray to God. I'm very fortunate. So yes, I have challenges, But to me, one of the key pillars of my philosophy is put it in perspective. Almost inevitably, there's people a lot worse than you are.
It's a lot of what you've said so far. You've touched on about 5 or 6 different things, all of which had this light bulb moment in my brain, but not necessarily not an idea that I had, but more of a memory of many years ago of to be grateful for what you have, kind of thing. This is not new. These are not new concepts.
It's not new,
and yet they are. I want to say they're forgotten, okay? Except for the very superficial type of meme or quote every once in a while, But the essence behind that wisdom has sincerely been forgotten in many ways, because it's been overridden by this tidal wave of over-information, overstimulation. I want to say irrelevant, okay? But I know for a lot of folks this is not irrelevant, but it's more so insignificant building up of things into a level of significance which they don't. It's not ascribed to them. I've not checked my Instagram in 5 minutes. It's like, where's my phone? As soon as you don't have your phone in the place where it's supposed to be, immediately hyperpalpitations. Your brain goes crazy. Your eyes get wide, as if there's an imminent danger happening. You get your phone and it's blank. Nobody's texted you, nobody's called you, you've not missed anything, etc., etc. But yet, you're still in that panic state of doing that. So you're absolutely right in that everything is I believe it to be perspective. But until we are in a situation like, seeing a photograph of the Palestinian family, but not just seeing the photograph, actually putting yourself into that scenario.
Correct.
Like, what would it be like if I was there with them?
Correct.
Celebrating my little girl's birthday in the middle of rubble in a war zone. Okay, and being that empathetic or that empathic to sincerely feel that situation, which is very difficult to do today with so much overstimulation of everything.
It is a lot of it is because we tend to say, the royal we tend to be very materialistic, and we're bombarded with so much marketing information, which is very sophisticated now through social media, continuously motivating you often subconsciously to buy things or want more things. And I recently had the opportunity to get for a new car. It's actually a gift of all things. And I said to the person, okay, I'd actually love a new car. Yeah, I'll have a Subaru Forester. And he said, well, you can have a Mercedes E-Class. No, I don't want a Mercedes E-Class. Forester's, it's great for me. It's it's good enough. It's strong. It's tough. It's like me. It's fine. I don't need that. Another thing is that a friend of mine. He had, a wonderful Rolex watch. It was lovely, about $25,000. And I said, well, that's very nice. And I showed him my Rolex. It was the Hulk, the green Rolex. I said, well, that's really good. So this was $95. The Pagani $95 Hulk, which from 12 inches away, unless you're next to it, it looks exactly the same. So and I would never pay that. Even if I had the money, I'd rather give it to a school like Cambodia. Right, rather than something which you're going to scratch, then whinge about for weeks. Scratch me $25,000 Rolex. I wouldn't bother. So it's all about. I think it's context, and I think you've got to. At the end of the day, you've got to ask yourself what's important to you. What's important to you? Okay, and once you've got across, the hierarchy of needs, and you pass the survival mode, blah blah blah. We have the wonderful opportunity to, for self-determination. Right, to do what you want to do, and I think there's so much opportunity now for people, and of course, age isn't just a number, but until you reach a certain, let's say, state of vitality or lack of, it can just be a number. It can just be a number. I've switched careers often over the past 20 years, even though I'm past it. I've done that. I've changed sectors. Had different relationships. It's not a problem to me. It's not a problem to me at all. But it's looking at the overall picture, you see.
Yeah, I think your lifestyle over the last 20 years, from 45 to 65, rivals most 15 to 35-year-olds lifestyles as far as the potential that you've explored and the development that you've had for yourself, and just your growth ultimately. But you did, while you were speaking, something just came to my mind, and it's slipping away right now. So I'm trying to regrasp it as such. Oh yes. Okay. So now I remember. Please tell me if this resonates with you in some way.
Sure.
If you feel yes, this is how it is, or no, it's nothing like that whatsoever. What I'm thinking of is to be able to get into this lifestyle, or to create, or to become the lifestyle that you've just mentioned now. You know, the eating healthy, the exercising, etc. Not a diet, but an eating lifestyle, and not exercise. It's just what I do in my day. It's part of my day, like brushing teeth or going to the bathroom. I go out and run or jog or do yoga or whatever. And you're saying you're doing this for the vitality. You're doing this to live your life and do what you want to do. Now, I know a lot of the arguments back is like, well, I don't know what I want to do, and my life's not worth it, so why should I even bother? But what I'm thinking is that these elements in your life will not manifest themselves or make themselves known to you until you start working on the vehicle on how to get there.
The thing is, it's true. You may not know to the nth degree of detail what you want to do. Who could argue with that? Do I know what I want to do in 10 years' time? Of course not. Do I know the rough direction? Yes. Yes, I do. So, for example, if you're on the route to, mental decay, if you've got the onset of early Alzheimer's, if you've got type 2 diabetes, I think it's fairly clear what you might want to do. So I don't buy that, you see. I really don't buy it. I'm
going to elaborate just a little bit for you because I might not have been very clear. What I'm trying to say is that we don't know in my case, this is just my case. This is the light bulb that went on while you're speaking. I don't know what I want to do because I am operating within my current parameters. If those parameters change, if I become fitter, healthier, more energetic, more, have a different lifestyle, the options for what I can do become so much greater.
Correct.
That opens the door, is what I'm saying.
You're absolutely spot on. So therefore, with those enhanced characteristics, you're right, that will give you, if you like, a different window of opportunity in all sorts of areas. Yeah. Okay.
I'll touch on mental health because you mentioned that as well. Mm-hmm. Again, depression, anxiety, sadness. Yes. It comes from this a very strong feeling of I'm not worth it, I'm not valuable, nobody cares about me, etc. But when you start doing the things that you just mentioned of the changes in lifestyle, you start seeing yourself differently, and therefore obviously will transform that element as well.
It is. And I think, again, building on what you've said, I think the element of people thinking life is fair comes into it as well.
Oh, yes.
They think
life is fair.
And, in assertiveness theory, which I'm heavy into, there are three key pillars where it creates so much unhappiness in people and enables them to be manipulated. One is life is without pain. One is you have to be good at everything. Yeah? I forgot what the third one is now. You probably should have to remember what the third one is.
Life is fair.
Life is fair. Life is life is without pain. You have to be good at everything. They're the three. Okay?
Yes.
And you think, oh, well, if life just gave me, a better set of cards, or you've got a colleague who's not as good as you and yet he always gets the promotion or she always gets the promotion. Life isn't fair. Life is not fair. Okay, so it's sort of work with what you've got, and you'll be amazed of what you've got with what you have.
Yes.
And you're right. What I've found is, if you get fitter, more alert, or whatever, blah blah blah, it's almost like I'm not getting into all these existential things, but things do seem to happen. Good things do tend to happen to you. I find people are attracted to you, either with the ideas, or they want your company, they want to spend time with you, they want to go out for drinks, for a meal, whatever. You'll be amazed that people will want to spend time with you, and that in itself will bring rewards. So that's what I do. So again, many people, what did you do last week? Oh, we started and watched Netflix. And why don't you go for a coffee with your friend? I've got lots of friends on Facebook, but how many of them do you go for coffee or a drink with? Oh, none. Well, they're not friends, then, are they? And again, you don't need that many good friends. Spend time with them. Spend time. But you're right. If you can enhance those characteristics, you do get many more opportunities. Certainly from my experience, you get many more opportunities.
Opportunities, but more so, I can just imagine how it opens your mind. For example, you spoke about you went to Everest Base Camp, you climbed Kilimanjaro, and earlier you said, when you are in this state, you can do what you want to do. Well, I don't want to climb Kilimanjaro. I don't want to go to Everest Base Camp because in my current state of mind, state of body, state of health, state of lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't make sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense. But what makes sense where I am at the moment? Watching Netflix and being a lazy bastard.
Well, I don't see.
But once that changes,
I don't think it does. You see, you're making that choice. Like I would let me sort of push back too on that one.
Well, it's more like I don't think it's possible because of from where I'm operating from. I don't think it's possible for me to climb Kilimanjaro.
Okay, do a role play. Okay,
Everest.
Now for the next 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to watch Netflix. Another scenario. I'm going to go out for a walk and look at the beautiful sunset on the East Coast. How difficult was that?
No, absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right with that choice of what you want to do.
Your choice.
And it's not so much the choice of doing something right now. Like I said before, I'm looking for either preferably the motivation rather than the desperation, where it's a serious health issue. If you don't change things, you're going to die. And things really, become real fast.
Well, you won't die, but what will happen is you get all these morbidities which will make life not worth living. That's what will happen.
Precisely. If you're in a place where you feel life's not worth living, it's very difficult to get motivated, even to go for a walk. When you can be lazier and just watch Netflix and essentially it's not a pastime. It's more of a past your mind. It's to escape.
Okay.
From the reality of the situation.
I'm a great believer. I mentioned mindfulness. I'm a great believer in rich pictures and visualization. And you and I have had obviously many conversations.
Rich pictures?
A rich picture of.
Rich picture.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry.
A rich picture of.
You said rich pictures.
Well, that as well. That's another conversation. That's another conversation, Angelo. Which I won't go with.
That's my bad. I'm sorry.
That's a good one. Yeah. So, but you maybe lose my train of thought now about.
You can edit this though.
No, keep that one in. It's great. It's great.
Rich bitches and visualization.
I think we should do the next.
I'm a big fan as well.
We should do the next one of rich bitches. I'm into that. I'm into that. Okay, so what I was going to say to you is that
Oh man.
Okay, so again, joking apart, we're having this conversation because I know. You feel I've done certain things in my life which you may or may not want to emulate. But anyway, but what I'd say to you is this. Right? You carry on with the lifestyle the way you are. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. That's your choice. But you said at the very beginning of this chat that you feel you're a reasonable representation of a man of your age. Okay? So how old are you now? I've forgotten how old you are.
45.
45. Okay, so 20 years' time you'll be 65. Do you want to look like you do now, plus 20 years, or look like me, because I'm 65 in 2 months' time?
I wish I looked like you now at 45.
Well, there you go.
Obviously. But like I said before,
Isn't that the motivation for you?
That's what I was here to explore. I want to explore that what... It should be motivation. It's like smoking. Okay, people smoke, and it's going to give you cancer. It's bad for your lungs. It's bad for everything, but you'll still keep doing it. And then the doctor says to you, by the way, you do have lung cancer or throat cancer, or whatever cancer, and you have 3 months to live. And suddenly hits home so hard, where you're like, I should have quit a year ago. I should have quit 2 years ago. I should have, woulda, coulda,
or a
kind of situation. So that kind of motivation, unless you are experiencing it, or having, you saying to me, would you like to look like me now, or yourself plus 20 years when you get to 65 years old, that's fine. Idealistically, or in a dream world, or visualization, or visualizing, yes, that would be nice. I heard the story once, I'm going to say it real quick. There was a lady who went to a piano concert. And after the concert, it was a brilliant concert, standing ovation. She went up to the pianist and said, you play absolutely beautifully. Yeah, it's the most beautiful music I've ever heard in my life. I would give anything to play like you. And the pianist said, no, you wouldn't. She goes, well, what do you mean? I said, would you give up your day to spend 8 hours practicing 7 days a week for the next 10 years? Then you can play like me.
Yes.
Okay, so even though there's something that we might want to do, we might not be prepared to pay the price or do what's
And that's
necessary
your
to do it.
choice.
And that is our choice. But what I would love to encourage folks, okay, and you said it about 4 or 5 times while we were speaking, it says, I have found what's right for me.
Yes.
Okay, what's right for you might not be right for somebody else. For me, keto worked. For somebody else, it might not work.
Cool.
So the encouragement here is that you're an absolutely fantastically beautiful example of what's possible. Now, the route to get to what's possible might be different for various people.
It's true.
But don't tell me it's not possible like they told me, oh, keto doesn't work.
No.
Okay? I did this for myself. This is the result. Okay, I'm not lying to you. There's no reason for me to lie to you. This is the methodology I use. This is the mindset. But everything is mindset, how we think about things. And you literally in this conversation have transformed my mindset instantaneously by the realization of just because I can't see what's after this is only because I don't, my mind cannot hypothetically imagine something because it doesn't have the tools it needs right now. You know, the vehicle, it says in this body, in this mind, in this mindset, these things are out of bounds for you. Once that changes, things will start opening up, like climbing Kilimanjaro or going to Everest Base or climbing Everest itself, for goodness sakes. Mm-hmm. You never know. So that was my inspiration rather than looking good, because it's not my forte. Looking good is not my forte. But having those kind of experiences, yes, definitely. And I always say, I'd love to be like that. I'd love to do what you do. But am I willing to pay the price? Well, maybe half the price to start off with.
The thing is, though, at the end of the day, as we wrap up, is I think I mentioned partway through the conversation is that the key is you may not live longer, but you want more physical and mental vitality in the years that you have. And the critical time for most professionals like ourselves is once we're 45 onwards. Okay, in my phrase, age and gravity are a bitch. Okay, don't actually age, calories and gravity are a bitch.
And sugar.
And sugar. Yeah, and that's the danger period. So, if I never see you now for another 10 years and we come back, the evidence will be there on what route you have chosen. But people should have no illusions. Investing in yourself so you can realize your potential, both for yourself and your friends and your family and the wider world, is as important as your job, is as important as your marriage, is as important as your children, because otherwise you can't serve them. You can't serve them. And you need to serve yourself. You need to serve yourself. As far as I know, we only have one shot at life on this. We only have one shot at life on this planet. Use it. And the famous words of Shawshank Redemption: "Get on living or get on dying." My choice is simple: get on living.
I love it. I hope we can get back together or we'll get together before a year is over, but in next year have a look back on this and see what has changed. I'm going to imagine, there's no other word for it, I'm going to imagine or visualize that there is also a possibility to not just slow down the aging process, but also turn back the hands of time as far as your own physical. So, I strongly believe that there's tons of scientific evidence for it that your body is creating new cells every single day. Okay, in
yes.
X amount of time, there's no cell in your body that's exactly that was there a year ago.
Yes.
Every single one of them will be new. So if the cells are new, there's no reason why they should not be maybe healthier than what they are right now. So it's a regeneration, I think, which is.
No, I agree. Well, I'm a great fan of David Sinclair, some of his beliefs, and I take a supplement stack which attempts to emulate that. But again, even with the supplement stack that he I won't say he recommends, he's very careful what he uses. He himself says, you need to do exercise. You need to make sure that you're not exposed to carcinogens. There's all one things. We can't just pop pills.
It's the easy way out. There's no quick fix for this kind of thing. If you do stop popping pills, it might be temporary, but it won't.
And it's also no guarantee. I could do all this stuff and I could get knocked down or a serious illness. God knows. Life's not fair. But all I do know is that those things I can control, I have taken control.
That's what I love about it. The conversation we had a week ago is like, this you have control over. Everything else you do not. So why not focus on what you can control?
Absolutely.
Then worry about what you don't. I remember. I'll always remember that meme you sent me a while ago, with was it the 4 words that'll change your life.
Go on.
Not my fucking problem.
Yes, that's right. You're not my fucking problem. That's another one of my philosophies. It's not my fucking problem, mate.
Yeah, 4 words that'll change your life. Not my fucking problem. Well, genuinely, to be honest with you, things you can't control are not your fucking problem.
Yeah, that's it.
So why don't you focus on the ones that are?
Yeah, okay. And if you try and make it my problem, fuck off.
Crack me up, man.